Guys, I want to tell you about our friends over at Frost Buddy. It is drinkware engineered to keep your beverages exactly how you want them. Whether you're heading out for an adventure or just powering through your day, Frost Buddy's flagship product, the Universal Buddy, replaces the need for multiple can coolers by fitting virtually every 12-ounce and 16-ounce can bottle you drink, sodas and seltzers to coffee and sparkling water, all in a single versatile design. Constructed with high quality double walled stainless steel and thoughtful features like a flexible silicone lid and a tapered shape that fits most cup holders, Frostbuddy keeps drinks cold for 12 hours and hot for up to 6 hours. So you get consistent temperature control, whether it's an iced drink on a hot afternoon or a hot coffee on the drive to work. Built to last, field tested for durability, and backed by a 30-day return policy, Frostbuddy makes everyday moments from tailgates and beach days to backyard cookouts and commutes more enjoyable. Going over and click the link below and use promo code S15 to get 15% off of your first purchase when you visit our friends over at frostbuddy.com. And when you use that promo code S15. Are you tired of spending upwards of $7 to $8 on coffees that are full of sugar and high in fat? Well, look no further than Chike Nutrition, the brand redefining what coffee can do for your day. Chike Nutrition combines the rich, familiar taste of real coffee with 20 grams of high-quality protein and the energy of 2 shots of espresso, giving you both fuel and function in every scoop. Available in a variety of crave-worthy flavors like mocha, caramel, vanilla, and many more, Chike delivers smooth, cafe-style iced coffee that mixes instantly with water or your favorite milk, with no clunky blender or complicated prep needed. Each serving is designed to be low in sugar, packed with protein, and loaded with real espresso, so that you can get a sustained energy that helps power your morning, workout, or busy afternoon without the crash that comes from sugary coffee drinks. Whether you're looking for better nutrition in your coffee routine or a smarter way to stay energized and full longer, Chike makes it simple. Scoop, shake, sip, and enjoy. If you want to take advantage of the new year and get in the best shape of your life, click the link below and get yourself 10% off of your first order over at ChikeNutrition.com. The excuses have to stop when it comes to dudes that are now officially leaving programs, especially when we talk about high-profile guys like Chaz Coleman. And they're calling it medically a medical discharge or whatever it is at this point. Guys, I think you and I know that is bullshit. Bottom line. The news coming out about 12 hours ago. Chaz Coleman and Tennessee will be mutually parting ways, and he will no longer be a part of the Volunteers roster. Absent for summer workouts in the second half of spring practice. His status with the program moving forward was unclear. He missed his report day. At spring meetings, Josh Heupel said that Chaz has been dealing with some things. We're here to support him. We'll continue to go through that process. I'm telling you, this is just another Micah Hudson situation from last year. But we'll get into that later. Nonetheless, guys, we are live. This is Southern Sports Scene here on YouTube. This is episode number 45. Make sure you all do us a favor. Y'all hit the like and share button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short here on the Southern Sports Scene. Every live show brought to you by our good friends over at Frost Buddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use that promo code S15 to get 15% off your first purchase. That is code S15 to get 15% off of that first purchase. We also want to thank our friends over at Chike Nutrition. 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of sugar in every healthy, hearty cup of Chike Nutrition iced coffee. Let me shut this up. Hate it when they do that stuff. 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of sugar. Get every single start to your morning off to a good one with our friends at Chike Nutrition. As always, we like to stream our live shows only, also exclusively as well, on the Buzzer app. Make sure you go on over to Buzzer today, download the app, and see if you can become a verified creator yourself. The big news coming out earlier, about 12 hours ago this morning. Chaz Coleman, after months of near non-existence within the Tennessee program, has officially reached the end. He will no longer be a part of the Tennessee football roster, which definitely puts his future in jeopardy. So it begs the question, what the hell happened? And I've already given my responses, and I'm already engaged in a conversation with a Tennessee creator that has his own opinions about it. He is more than welcome to have his own. I'm not going to hate on the kid. Look, or really not really a kid. He's more of a grown man. I think he's older than me, actually. But again, we have our own opinions. We have our own speculation about that. Guys, I don't think that he was ever bought in fully. I don't think that this was a match made in heaven whatsoever. I think that this was solely based on the fact that this was the highest offer available. This is the biggest reason why he decided to commit there, is because of the fact that you had a guy that was there, that was his defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles. You have a guy that is going to get paid a lot of money. This is a $2 million contract, NIL contract that he has. He's worth 7 digits. Tennessee took a chance on a guy that had a lot of good potential, showed some promise at Penn State. Here's the thing, though. How much of an impact would he have made? I don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't think he was going to be playing at all this year. It was a bold move to even consider signing him. I thought he should have stayed in Big Ten territory. I think Ohio State would have gotten a better opportunity with him. I think that they definitely pushed to get a guy like him. Now that this situation is over with, now that we have this news breaking out about him officially parting ways with the team, he is still under scholarship. I don't know if it prevents him from leaving or not, but for now, he is no longer part of this roster. And I've seen tweets go out about this is a similar situation to the Nico situation, the Boo Carter situation. The only similarity between those three is that you had all three of those guys that left the program due to controversy. Nico's situation was much different because it was his dad that talked a lot, that got on social media and really started a lot of stuff about his NIL contract. You had the Boo Carter situation where he did it to himself. That was his own undoing, was because he just, I don't think he was ever bought in. I don't think he wanted to be a Vol either. I don't think that this was a guy that was ready for the spotlight, in my opinion. Great football player, make no mistake about it. But I think he thought he was better than what the team actually was about. So you have obviously that go on. And then now you have this situation with a high-profile type of player in Chaz Coleman. And what happened? 5 months after he steps on campus, he is no longer part of this roster. In my opinion, this is a very similar situation to the Micah Hudson deal. And if you remember what happened last year with Micah Hudson, remember when he committed to Texas A&M and they guaranteed him a lot of money with NIL? Guess what happened? He got homesick. I think that there were some things that went down at A&M that and that, in my opinion, I think that he wasn't healing properly from his stress fracture. I do believe that there was some things that could have gone much better. There was a lot of mental health reasons. I don't know, man. There's a lot of red flags personality-wise. I want to think that the same situation happened here. There was a lot of personality issues with a guy like Chaz Coleman. But I don't know, man. Oh man, I don't know. There's so many different things that could have happened. He is a very, very, very talented football player. I'm not denying that one bit. Chaz Coleman has an opportunity to be a very, very, very good football player in college football. The problem is that I think it was his own self-destruction, not to mention the fact that he's still nursing what apparently was a head injury that he sustained last year that led him to miss part of the season. And then ultimately, I don't know what happened, whether it be mentally or I genuinely don't know. I am only speculating, but I don't think he wanted to be in Knoxville after a couple months of being in Tennessee. I just don't. I think initially he did it for the money. The money was good. It was rolling in. But again, I don't believe that he wanted to be in Knoxville much longer. I think this was one of those Caden Proctor type of situations, except with all the tampering, where he gets the bag, stays there for a couple months or so, and then boom, gone. If the transfer portal window was still had two windows, he would have entered the transfer portal this time last year. I guarantee you he would have. And this wouldn't have been a situation where they're mutually parting ways. So I wish nothing but the best of luck for him. I think he's a very talented football player. I think he has he has a very bright future ahead of him if he keeps his head on straight. But you also have to understand that we're still dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that are coming into 7 figures if they're that talented like Coleman is. They don't know how to handle that. And I suspect the same thing happened. I think initially it was enticing. I think initially it was a great fit. I think because of him pairing with Coach Knowles. But something happened between the month of March and April that kind of set him off, that caused him to be isolated from the rest of the team. And to be honest with you, he has nobody to blame but himself. That's my own personal opinion on this. You can disagree with me. That's completely okay with me. But I just do not believe that Chaz Coleman fully wanted to be in Knoxville. And many people will say, well, why was he enrolled? Again, money talks. Money talks at the end of the day. If you are getting paid $2 million to go be at a school, would you take that money in a heartbeat? And listen, That's the highest bidder too. I don't ever hear any reports of Ohio State or Michigan or whomever giving him a better deal than $2 million. It just wasn't there. So I think this is something that Ryan Day definitely could jump on in a heartbeat. I think that this is a perfect scenario for him to go attack a guy like him, get him back in the building, and potentially make him one of your other edge rushers. Because listen, we'll see, man. I don't know. I think that there's still a lot of things that still have to be addressed when it comes to him at the end of the day. Elliot Norris post on X. He said, wasn't it between Tennessee, Ohio State, and South Carolina, but South Carolina backed out at some point? I think I remember South Carolina being in the running for it. I do believe that is correct. I think that when they heard about the highest bidder and they realized what he wanted, I think they backed out of that situation. And that's how they were able to free up so much space so that they could go out and go get these other pieces, guys like Caleb Herring, guys like Jacarius Peak, and so on and so forth. So I think that was the biggest thing at the end of the day, is because that would have completely destroyed South Carolina's budget if they would have went over what Tennessee was offering Chaz Coleman. That's my opinion. Do I have the facts that back it up? No, but that's part of an opinion. But we'll see, man. I look, again, really, really talented football player, but he's got to get his stuff together. He's got to get healthy. And quite frankly, he's got to find where he is at as a football player. He's got to focus on football for 6 months out of the year. I just don't think he's in that headspace to do that at this point in time. So how does this affect Tennessee? Well, let's start off with our Tennessee preview for 2026. We'll talk about what they could potentially do and just give you an outlook on what this roster looks like for the 2026 college football season. Listen, Josh Heupel is now entering into a season where I don't think it's quite necessarily make or break for them in 2026 because, listen, this is still a young roster. You're going to lose you lost a lot of dudes on the defensive side of the ball, but you brought in some dudes from the transfer portal that you can get behind and some guys that, I think can be dynamic in their own sense and potentially help Tennessee get themselves back atop the be among one of the best in the SEC. So looking at the offensive side of the ball, I think this is where you have the most talent, hands down. Because look, when you look at this Vols roster, the only thing that is going to cause a lot of concern is obviously the quarterback position. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's obviously going to be between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. I think you're very deep at running back. Deshaun Bishop is one of the best running backs in the country, and he has an opportunity to be probably the most dynamic running back right now in college football. 1,000-yard rusher this past year. I would like to see him be more involved in the receiving game, which is something I do expect to happen a lot more often. And we've seen glimpses of him being able to do that. I think the Oklahoma game is a really good example where he might not have been doing much on the ground, just 12 carries for 38, but he was absolutely dynamic through the air, 4 catches for 51, and provided a little bit of a spark in the receiving game for Tennessee. But you return a lot of guys. Arian Carter is going to be one of the best linebackers in the SEC. I love his tape. He is a downhill threat. He's a dude that I think can very, very well be a finalist as an SEC Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of names that could end up being better than what we expect. Ty Redmond is only a sophomore. He's just now coming into his own as a defensive back. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. He could potentially shoot himself up on top of some of the draft boards by the time we prepare for the 27 season, going into the 28 NFL draft. But listen, look at who just left. Boo Carter is gone. He's now at Colorado. Peyton Lewis, who was your third string running back and yet still managed to get over 400 yards rushing, he is now gone. But you got in Amari Campbell and DJ Burks, who is a fantastic safety from Appalachian State. I think he can play a big role in this offense. Burks had started a good bit of games for the Mountaineers the last 2 seasons. Third on the team in tackles this past year to go along with 2 picks. Burks is going to be a leader in this backfield. I think he's got the opportunity to do that just as well. Amari Campbell, coming in from North Carolina, will be on the other side of Arian Carter. And so those two are going to provide much needed experience in the linebacking room. That goes along with guys like Spillman and Perlott as well. The thing that kind of concerns me the most on the defensive side of the ball is the safety position, which, make no mistake about that, I think they have a lot of guys that can do some really good things. We are expecting to see DeJuan Lane potentially start at safety, coming in from Penn State. TJ Metcalf is another guy that you could potentially look out for. TJ Metcalf was a phenomenal football player. Honorable mention all Big Ten this past year after his lone season at Michigan. So that's a lot of experience that you bring from back on the defensive side of the ball. The front seven is just obviously going to take a hit with the loss of a guy like Chaz Coleman. So what does this mean for Tennessee defensively? I think even with Jim Knowles as your defensive coordinator, you're definitely going to see a step up in how you were compared to Tim Banks. I thought Tim Banks was going to continue to be your defensive coordinator going on into 2026. But I just think things got so out of whack that it was inevitable that change was bound. It was going to happen one way or the other. Banks at this point was DOA, dead on arrival. Especially when you look at games where Tennessee just absolutely collapsed in the secondary. You have to look at that Kentucky game, and you cannot deny that secondary was confused. They had no earthly clue. No earthly clue what their assignment was. They were not playing complementary football, and it just seemed to cause a lot of aggravation on the sidelines as well. That showed. Bottom line, you can't deny that. From the offensive side of the ball, we've already talked about the running back room. This wide receiver room gives me a lot of confidence compared to what many people could say. when you bring in guys that are extremely experienced, Braylon Staley's coming off of a phenomenal season in the slot, coming off of an SEC Freshman of the Year season. Mike Matthews, who I thought Mike Matthews has been around college football for his entire life. But Matthews is going to be a dude that is just still has not yet broke out like you expect. I know he had a 813 this past year, but I just think that there's so much more that he could be doing. I think that this guy is going to get a lot of touches this season. I expect Matthews to be wide receiver 1 this upcoming season. That's why they have him playing the X position. Radarius Jackson, Travis Smith Jr. Radarius Jackson was a guy that didn't get a whole lot of touches this past year, just 9 catches for 90 yards, but he made the most of his catches. Very physical run blocker. So really excited to kind of see how he puts together at the Z position. So we'll see what happens there. Offensive line wise, you have a lot of experience and you have guys that you can put on the offensive line and you can trust them. Wendell Moe Jr., I would expect to be one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country. The physical offensive guard, first team all SEC this past year, and a guy that I definitely think is going to find himself in the top 30 next year's draft. David Sanders Jr., who's obviously the 5-star freshman from this past season. Solid season. I know a lot of people were not sure if he was going to redshirt or not. Ended up taking some snaps, showed some promise. Definitely would like to see him be better in his footwork and pass pro, but this kid is going to be very, very good this upcoming season. And I think that he is going to prove why they moved him back from right tackle to left tackle. And I think he's going to be a staple there, and I think they're going to keep him there for an extended period of time. Sam Pendleton, the center from Notre Dame, is a physical run blocker, but you got that right side, man, that look. I think Jesse Perry is a phenomenal offensive lineman. Very physical, 6'6", 320 pounds. Made a big staple, can play both right tackle and right guard. But man, big guy. Very, very physical. We'll see what happens, what Ori Williams can do, who transfers in from LSU. Got some snaps at left tackle against Arkansas, but I mean, let's see what he does in his first full year as a starter with an SEC team. I think that this offensive line could end up seeing themselves back on top of a Joe Moore Award at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of depth at this on this offense. So overall, when I look at Tennessee, high ceiling, very, very high ceiling, even with the loss of Chaz Coleman. This is still a pretty interesting schedule. You go to Georgia Tech, second game of the year in Bobby Dodd. I think that's going to define what the season looks like. I don't think you should have any problems against the reigning CUSA champions in Kennesaw State. They lost a lot. But you get Texas at home, Alabama at home, at Texas A&M, and then LSU at home. Their over-under right now is 7.5. I expect them to just hit the over. I think 8 wins is very doable with this team, with the roster that they have, and they just have to find a quarterback. And I think, in my opinion, if they can build off of what they could do this year, if they get to 8 or 9 wins this season, I think you still bring back majority of the roster to 2027. I think that this is a Tennessee team that I think could potentially make a run for a college football playoff when it is all said and done. It is a gamble that they're going to have to take a risk, but I think it's a gamble that's worth it at the end of the day. That's just my thoughts on it. Staying along the SEC, I don't know how this just can't popped into my head. But let's talk about Missouri. Missouri is one of these teams that I don't know what it is, but they continue to always pop up when we talk about not necessarily elite, but on the cusp of being regular contenders in the SEC. Missouri is always going to be there. But look, man, look at who they lost from this past year. You have a lot of dudes, guys that were starters this past year, guys that you had over the last 2 seasons, really just leave the room, man. Just leave Missouri. So it's a lot of high expectations with this, and you look at the last several years under Eli Drinkwitz, it's been phenomenal. Make no mistake about that. I also believe that there have been seasons where there's been suspect years. 2024 was a great example, in my opinion. But to have a team that goes from 17 wins in 3 years, and you go from 2023 and since 2023, Missouri is 29-10. But in that stretch of them going 29-10, they have lost 9 SEC games. Their best record in the SEC was 6-2 in 2023. Their only 2 SEC losses were to LSU and to Georgia. So what does this look like for them in 2026? You're going to have to replace a lot on the defensive side of the ball. I think last year you showed some promise early on in the season. You started off really good compared to what I thought you were going to be as a team. You came out really just with guns a-blazing. Started off hot, 5-0 on the season. Was competitive with Bama, went to Vanderbilt, and got into a dogfight with them. Then you lose your star quarterback in Bo Pribula. Star, I should say. But he was a solid option for what you had. And then after that Alabama game, the wheels just kind of fell off for this team. I mean, you get to 15th in the nation at one point. You lose 5 of the last 7 games at the end of the season. Embarrassing bowl loss to Virginia in 2 games where you were held under 10 points. Really 3 games. That offense was limited. Partly because you didn't have the same amount of weapons that you had the last 2 years. No more Luther Burden. Kevin Coleman was a solid option for you, but now he's no longer with this program. Marquise Johnson is now at Mississippi State. Josh Manning's at Kansas State. Damon Wilson, who was one of your top edge rushers, he's now at Miami. Bo Pribula, your quarterback, is now at Virginia. Josiah Trotter in the NFL. What did you bring back? You got a quarterback in Austin Simmons that has a very, very high ceiling, in my opinion. You brought in Robert Woodyard, who is a phenomenal linebacker. I think could be better than Josiah than Josiah Trotter. That's my opinion. Jaden Blair, we've heard some things about him. He could be a very, very good safety for the most part. Offensive line wise, it's going to have a lot of question marks, though. Obviously, everybody knows about Caden Green and what he's done over the last several years. First team All SEC offensive lineman this past year. I would expect him to be one of the first tackles taken in the NFL draft this upcoming season. But this is a tough schedule that Missouri has to play. You brought in Caden Lee, who gives you another option at the slot. But look at this Missouri game. Look at their games, guys. This is not an easy schedule. You go to Kansas for the border war. We always know how rivalries go. You go to Mississippi State. We don't know what they're going to look like against Camario Taylor. Florida at home, Texas A&M at home, at Ole Miss, at Arkansas, which they shouldn't have any problem because Arkansas is going to be really bad this year. Home against Texas, at Georgia, Kentucky at home, Oklahoma at home. Missouri is in for a very, very difficult season, in my opinion. I do see a scenario where they start 4-0, but man, that game against Mississippi State, I would be circling that if you are a fan. You lose that football game, I don't know if you have a winning season. You will probably win 2 SEC games the rest of the season that'll barely get you to that might barely get you to bowl eligibility. Okay? There's only 2 games that I could potentially see them as guarantees. That's at Arkansas and that's home against Kentucky. The reason why I say it's a guarantee against Kentucky is because as much as Kentucky rebounded in the transfer portal this past year, I just don't see a scenario where they're going to get big wins on the road. So we'll see, man. I mean, this is a Missouri team that has to obviously have everything go right for them at the right time. It starts with that Mississippi State game on the road, though, in Davis Wade. They lose that game, this team is a 5-7 team. They win against Mississippi State. I see a scenario where they could potentially be a 9-win team. But this schedule is one of the most difficult in college football. Their over-under right now is 5.5 games. So in order to get to 6 wins, this would be your guaranteed / semi toss-up games. Arkansas Pine Bluff, at Kansas, Troy at home, at Mississippi State, Kentucky, and then at Arkansas. But you got to go on the road in 2 of the 3 SEC games that are should be considered wins for you. I would put those in the toss-up category, except Arkansas, because they're going to be absolutely horrible. But I guess don't underestimate Arkansas in a rivalry that they have at the end of the day. Austin Simmons is a phenomenal quarterback. His offensive coordinator sucks. Chip Lindsey just sucks as a coordinator. How does he still have a job? How? I don't know. I don't get that. Yes, they're 26th nationally in scoring. They're 11th in rush yards per game. Guys, what does their passing offense look like? I think the game is just is evolving past Chip Lindsey at a very high rate. That's my opinion. We've seen him do some really good things. We've seen him work with some really good quarterbacks. Guys, the game has changed. He was the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach with Bryce Underwood this past year. What the hell did Michigan do through the air this past year? Did Bryce ever look confident throwing the football sometimes? Not really. They turned the freaking football over a lot. That's what haunts me about some of these Chip Lindsey offenses is that they are very turnover prone, and it is going to hurt them at times during the season. And that could be the big difference between them being a bowl team and them potentially sitting out, which could spell disaster for Eli Drinkwitz. I don't know if that's the case, though, because they're going to get a pass because look at how many guys they lost. They don't have any senior leadership on that team. I don't know. I think they may have one or two returning starters that even played, or one or two players that had meaningful starts. 50% of that roster, they're the bottom 5 in the SEC, according to ESPN, in returning production. That's bad. It's not good. So they went out into the portal and they got guys which pretty much filled out the 50%. But if you really take them out and just focus on guys that were on this Missouri roster this past year, it's not good. There aren't a lot of players that had a lot of meaningful snaps in 2025. So I don't know, man. I just don't know. I'm not confident on Missouri this year. I don't know what they're going to look like. But if they get to 7-5, that's saying something. But I think Eli Drinkwitz needs to really reflect on the season, depending on where they are. And I get that you have two of the best running backs in Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts. Ahmad Hardy's going to have to run the hell out of the football this year. Austin Simmons, I don't know if I put him fully in command of the offense, because even when you looked at that first few games of the first 2 games of the season when Austin Simmons was playing before Trinidad Chambliss took over for whenever Austin got injured, Austin turned the football over. You really want him paired up with a turnover-prone offense in Chip Lindsey's? That's a decision for you to decide. All right, that's going to be it for today. Y'all have a great night. We will see y'all very soon on another great episode of the Southern Sports.